कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदनन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यशोदनन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यमुनातीरावनचारी यमुनातीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदनन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यशोदनन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यमुनातीरावनचारी यमुनातीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय ओम विश्वपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य स्तोत्रशत श्री श्रीमद शिवायन ग्रेसी भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विश्वपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य स्तोत्रशत श्री श्रीमद शिवायन ग्रेस भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद भागवतम की जय। ऑल गुरुस assembled devotees Hare Krishna. All गुरुस assembled devotees Hare Krishna. All गुरुस assembled devotees Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जायमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। हरे कृष्ण। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 3, entitled Hiranyakashipu's Plan to Become Immortal. Text number 1, beginning this new chapter. Shri Narada Uvacha Hiranyakashipu Rajan Ajayam Ajayam Ajaramaram Atmanam Apratidvandam Ekarajam Vyadhitsava. Shri Narada Uvacha Hiranyakashipu Rajan Ajayam Ajaramaram Atmanam Apratidvandam Ekarajam Vyadhitsata. Shri Narada Uvacha Hiranyakashipu Rajan Ajayam Ajaramaram Atmanam Apratidvandam Ekarajam Vyadhitsata. Shri Narada Uvacha Hiranyakashipu Rajan Ajayam Ajaramaram Atmanam Apratidvandam Ekarajam Vyadhitsata. Shri Narada Uvacha Hiranyakashipu Rajan Ajayam Ajaramaram Atmanam Apratidvandam Ekarajan Vyadhitsata. Shri Narada Hiranyakashipu Rajan Ajayam Ajaramaram Atmanam Apratidvandam Ekarajam Vyadhitsata. Matajis. Shri Narada Uvacha Hiranyakashipu Rajan Ajayam Ajaramaram Atmanam Apratidvandam Ekarajan Vyadhitsata. Shri Narada Uvacha. Narada Muni said, Hiranyakashipu, the demoniac king Hiranyakashipu, Rajan, O King Yudhishthir, Ajayam, unconquerable by any enemy, Ajara, without old age or disease, Amaram, immortal, Atmanam, himself, Apratidvandam, without any rival or opponent, Ekarajam, the one king of the universe, Vyadhitsata, desired to become. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Narad Muni said to Maharaj Yudhishthir, the demoniac king Hiranyakashipu wanted to be unconquerable and free from old age and dwindling of the body. He wanted to gain all the yogic perfections like Anima and Laghima, to be deathless and to be the only king of the entire universe, including Brahmaloka. Purport. Such are the goals of the austerities performed by demons. Hiranyakashipu wanted to receive a benediction from Lord Brahma so that in the future he would be able to conquer Lord Brahma's abode. Similarly, Another demon received a benediction from Lord Shiva, but later wanted to kill Lord Shiva through that same benediction. Thus, self-interested persons, by demoniac austerity, want to kill even their benedictors, whereas the Vaishnava wants to remain an ever-existing servant of the Lord and never to occupy the post of the Lord. Through Sayujya Mukti, which is generally demanded by Asuras, one merges into the existence of the Lord. But although one sometimes thus achieves the goal of the theory of monism, one falls down again to struggle in material existence. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Shwapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Uta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishwapadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Nama Om Vishwapadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Niti Namine Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhobhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, seeking the blessings of all the Vaishnavas to be able to speak on this Srimad Bhagavatam, the Amala Puran. We are going through the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and today we are starting a new chapter, chapter 3, entitled Hiranyakashipu's plan to become immortal. So we'll just see a brief recap. I don't want to get into the previous part because it's an entire new full chapter. But just to give a context, small, brief recap. And then we'll discuss about personification of pride, which is Hiranyakashipu, of the 6 anarthas. And we'll discuss on demoniac austerities for material benefits. We'll discuss on purpose levels and goal of austerity. And Prabhupada makes a beautiful statement in the purport that a Vaishnava wants to remain an ever-existing servant of the Lord. So we'll discuss on that towards the end. Also, what it means to be a servant of the Lord. So, the context here is that Hiranyakashipu is, in the previous chapters, in chapter 2, Hiranyakashipu is exhibiting his scholarliness of the Vedas, the knowledge that he has of the Vedas. In fact, he is using it to console his mother, his sister-in-law, and the nephews, all the relatives who have assembled. So he has been equipped with a lot of knowledge, but what he is using, he is engaging also in terms of consoling his relatives. At the same time, now we see drastically in the 3rd chapter, what he was preaching in the 2nd chapter as the body is temporary. Now, in the 3rd chapter, what we see is he is going to perform austerities in order to make his body immortal. So 2nd chapter exhibits his scholarliness, and 3rd chapter exhibits his foolish plans to become immortal. This is what Srila Prabhupada also said, that there are so many millionaires who used to approach the doctors, topmost doctors, and said, we can give you blank check, we can give you any amount of money you want, but please ensure that my body is preserved and I can remain immortal within the self same body. Or in future, if you are able to make some medicines, you can at least revive me. You can remember me. So that is the foolishness that Hiranyakashipu was exhibiting, in spite of preaching in the previous chapter that the body is temporary. So how is it possible for someone who is so scholarly to be also foolish? We can see this very much happening, and typically even in the life of a neophyte devotee, many times it happens when we are just beginning to take to devotional service. We get some knowledge of the scriptures and we use it like sword, the knowledge of the scriptures which we have, and sometimes the very same words of the scriptures may end up hurting others. The philosophy is actually, in one sense, we can say like a double-edged sword. It's very powerful. Philosophy is meant to enlighten. Philosophy is meant to enlighten, but since it is also like a sword, it can end up, killing a person, or it can end up hurting a person. Killing is a very harsh, maybe more harsher, but from the words perspective. So Hiranyakashipu here in the second chapter has been a philosophical preacher of the Vedas. Unfortunately, there is no devotional sentiments that he is exhibiting. Although he is preaching from the Vedas, but there is no devotional qualities or no aspect of surrender to the Lord. Rather, in spite of knowing that Vishnu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is having a tendency to oppose. He is having a tendency to fight against the very same Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's what we see in the second chapter. And of course, he gives the example of Suyagya residing in Oshinara, and the Kulinga bird example that he gives. How the Kulinga bird was shot by a hunter, and preaching about the temporary nature of this body. That not only that bird who was shot was dead, but the family members, the husband and other birds, also in grief, they are also going to give up their lives. So sometimes while we are looking at others, sometimes we go to a crematorium and we feel, bechara chala gaya, But one day we will also become that bechara. We will also, our turn also is going to come. So that's what Hiranyakashipu is preaching, that the body is temporary, while you may be looking at others, but we are also going to go through the same aspects. So that way, if you see, Hiranyakashipu is doing a great task of consoling his mother, his sister-in-law, and other nephews who have assembled there. So Hiranyakashipu, of the 6 anarthas, Jay and Vijay, particularly when they come in this material world, when they come in this material world, they represent these 6 anarthas, and particularly from Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha. Hiranyakashipu represents pride, Hiranyaksha represents greed, and of course the other Shishupal, Dantavakra and others are there. So here, particularly in the verse, it is mentioned Ekarajam. Hiranyakashipu wanted to be powerful, supreme, and exclusive. In today's time, a person, what is the aspiration of a modern day materialist? A modern day materialist, what does he aspire for? To become rich, to become famous. If somebody gets a car, he is happy. If they're staying in a 1 BHK, if they move to a 2 BHK, they are happy. Or if they shift to a bungalow, a villa, whatever, space, car, maybe a good spouse, maybe a good job. What else is a materialist can aspire for? But if you see Hiranyakashipu, what he is aspiring for is something which nobody had ever even thought of. Because the mass only thinks of trying to make our life a little bit better. From a C class jail to a B class jail to a A class jail. As long as it is C to B to A, we are happy, irrespective of, in spite of being still a jail. But Hiranyakashipu is really doing something out of the box. Hiranyakashipu is aspiring, and the austerities that he is ready to perform, That's why even Narad Muni says that the austerities which the demoniac perform, even a devotee will shudder at the thought of the kind of austerities that the demoniac is able to perform. Of course, the devotee does not have to perform such ghoram austerities, because it's not required. The austerities prescribed for the sattva guna, raja guna, and tamo guna, it's different. Jai Shri Radha Vrindavan Chandra Bhagavan ki Jai, Shri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Maiya ki Jai, Shri Gauranitai Bhagavan ki Jai, Shri Balaji Bhagavan ki Jai, Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. The demoniac austerities, which basically the demons perform, are meant for their own personal benefit, material benefit. Srila Prabhupada gives wonderful examples here that after performing austerity, receiving benediction from people, from personalities, the demigods, the person remains so ungrateful that they want to kill the very same person who has given them the benediction. How self-centered it is. After performing austerity, when someone comes and awards a gift, a demigod comes and gives some benediction, receiving that and completely self-centered, materially oriented, and the worst is ungrateful. Want to kill or want to usurp the position of the person who has given them the benediction. And Srila Prabhupada gives two examples here in the purport. One is of Hiranyakashipu himself, that he wanted, after receiving benediction from Lord Brahma, he wants to usurp the position of Lord Brahma also. He wants to rule over the entire universe. And Prabhupada gives another example here of a demon who is taking benediction from Lord Shiva. Who is that? Vrikasur or Bhasmasur, who after 7 days of extreme austerity, and after all that, when Lord Shiva reluctantly appears, at that time he is asking a benediction that whosoever head I keep my hand on, his head should burst. Similarly, in Mahabharata, this is a pastime narrated by Lord Krishna himself to Yudhishthira Maharaj. This is at a time when, towards the end of the battle, Kurukshetra war, when in frustration, after Duryodhana is also, there is a fight amongst Bhima and Duryodhana, duel which they have. Seeing the frustration that Duryodhana was lying on the ground, and Ashwathama, he felt that I need to do something. He wanted to please his master. That Duryodhana himself could not do something, but I want to do something to please him. I want to offer him some gift. So in his fit of rage, that particular night he was sort of possessed, as if he was possessed, and he literally went into the enemy camp, into the Pandavas camp, and ended up killing the 5 sleeping children of the Pandavas, of Draupadi. So that was a very heinous task. And later on, when Ashwathama took those heads, Duryodhana, while he was lying on the ground, after being sort of defeated by Bhima, he was just writhing in pain. At that time, Duryodhana is, with his hands, he crushed those skulls and said, this cannot be Pandavas. This cannot be Bhima, Arjuna and Yudhishthira Maharaj. Because I am able to, in my this condition, I am able to crush their skulls. And even it is said, even Duryodhana was feeling repentant. Duryodhana felt bad that you could have at least allowed their survivors, at least their descendants, to survive. So Ashwathama wanted to please, but ended up displeasing his own master. And then he was literally on a run, because now he knew that as soon as morning the news breaks, breaking news, when Pandavas will come to know about it, they are not going to spare my life. So he was literally running after here and there. At that time, of course, naturally, Yudhishthira Maharaj, when they come to know about the news, they are literally wondering how to even convey this news to Draupadi and others. So at that time, Lord Shri Krishna arrives there and tells Yudhishthira Maharaj about the nature of Ashwatthama. Please beware, he can do anything. Right now what we have seen is he has killed the 5 sleeping children of the Pandavas. And I have a previous experience. Lord Shri Krishna tells Yudhishthira Maharaj, saying that earlier Ashwatthama had come to Dwarka. He had come to Dwarka and he had asked me, he said, let's exchange weapons. And Ashwatthama said, I have Brahmastra, Brahmashira. And since you have Sudarshan Chakra, let's exchange the weapons. Lord Shri Krishna said, I don't need to exchange. If you want, you can take. I don't need yours. If you want mine, you can take. And Ashwatthama, with all his might, he was trying to take the Sudarshan Chakra, but he was not able to move it. Like something like Angada, who had kept his lotus feet in the assembly of Ravana and said, if anybody dares to move it, nobody could move it. So, and like that, Ashwatthama was not able to take the Sudarshan Chakra from Lord Shri Krishna's hands. And then Lord Shri Krishna asked Ashwatthama, may I ask you, what is the purpose? What was the purpose for which you wanted the Sudarshan Chakra? You already have Brahmastra, Brahmashira. Why did you want this? And Ashwatthama said, I wanted this, that after getting the Sudarshan Chakra, I know Sudarshan Chakra is the most powerful weapon. And after receiving this, I wanted to defeat you. And I wanted to become the supreme most powerful person. So this is what Prabhupada says, that material benefits, they are self-centered and they want to, they are so ungrateful that from the very person that they are seeking benedictions from, they are actually ready to revolt against or even usurp their positions. So that's the unfortunate situation of the demoniac austerities. Prabhupada explains in the Bhagavad Gita about these demoniac austerity. In fact, Bhagavad Gita explains, Tan vidhi asura nischayan. In fact, it is being the demoniac quality is being described. Who is an asura is being described. One who performs austerities without those austerities which are not recommended in the scriptures, right? One who performs extreme austerities, those which are not recommended in the scriptures. Second, ghoram, they are harmful to others. And third, karshayanta sharirastham, they torment their own bodies. And as part of that, Prabhupada says, they even disturb the super soul living within the body. That is demoniac. This is defined as, this is the definition of demoniac personality. That he performs penances, extreme penances, but it is not something which is recommended in the scriptures. And Prabhupada gives modern day examples of fasting. People sometimes fast for various causes. It can be social cause, it can be political cause. Prabhupada puts that in the category of, it is not recommended in the scriptures. Fasting is recommended in the scriptures. Like we recently fasted for Janmashtami or Ekadashis. That fasting is recommended, which is basically for the purification of the self and for pleasing the Lord. But those austerities which are not recommended, which are for material benefits, which are self-centered and practically very ungrateful, that is something, or to the other extent of harmful to others. We can see, that's what we can see, for example, Jayadratha. Jayadratha, when he performed austerities, he wanted to ask a benediction that I want to finish off the Pandavas. Lord Shiva says, I can't give you this benediction because Pandavas are protected by Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I cannot award this benediction. Then Jayadratha says, at least give me a concession. Let me at least stop them for one day in the battle. Let me at least be able to stop them for one day in the battle, which was employed in the event of Abhimanyu's killing, right? That was being utilized. Similarly, you find Shalva. Shalva was there in the marriage ceremony of Shishupal, and about to happen. Shishupal was about to get married to Rukmini, unfortunately arranged like that. And Lord Shri Krishna, when he receives the beautiful letter from Rukmini, and he comes overnight and kidnaps Mother Rukmini, and Shishupal is dumbfounded. He's like awestruck. He's not able to figure out, whom will I marry now? What to do now? I have already printed the cards and the bride is missing now. So Shishupal was just dumbfounded and dumbstruck. Whereas there was Jarasandha who went to fight with his armies, because by that time Lord Balaram had arrived from Dwarka. And at the same time there was this Shalva also along with his armies. And it is said that Shalva was defeated in that fight. So he felt so insulted that he went and performed austerities. He performed such severe austerities, for about a year, he ate only a handful of dust. For about a year. After which Lord Shiva again sort of reluctantly appeared. Because Lord Shiva knew that how much ever austerity you perform, you are not going to get the benediction that you desire for finally, or you will not be able to accomplish. You will not be successful in the benediction that you are desiring. That's why Lord Shiva was delaying it. But still, because he was performing worship, Lord Shiva arrived, and the benediction that he asked for is, he wanted a spaceship, he wanted a flying iron city, but the purpose was, he wanted to terrify the Vrishnis. You see, after performing so much of tapasya, what all people can ask for, but what they end up asking. The whole purpose was, I want to terrify the Vrishnis. Ghoram. That's why Krishna describes as Ashastra Vihitam Ghoram. One is, it is not recommended in the scriptures. Second, it is harmful to others. And third, they torment their own bodies. And while tormenting their own bodies, they are also disturbing the super soul within. So this is being described as for the demoniac personalities. And if we talk about what the austerities are actually meant for in terms of the goal of the austerity, the purpose of the austerity, or the levels of the austerity. Because austerity is meant for tapo divyam, as Srimad Bhagavatam beautifully describes. Austerity is meant to be performed for a transcendental cause. Tapo divyam putrakayana sattvam. Rishabdev's beautiful teachings. That's what austerities are meant for. Otherwise, whatever austerity one performs, austerity in one sense we can say is, people are trying to delay the sense gratification. Right? Anybody who's trying to perform austerity is trying to, that's the Karmakanda version. That's the Karmakandas or Karmis understanding of austerity. I mean, just for example, a student may want to watch the movies on the day of the exam, but he somehow bites his teeth, and somehow or other he says, let me just wait for 10 more days, and afterwards I can watch how much ever I want. So those who have a little bit of sense control, or those who understand the goals, those who understand the impact of my immediate gratification, such people are able to at least postpone their gratification. No, but this is more or less of a karmakandi or a karmi's understanding, because even when somebody performs a yajna, if we see the sort of a goal of the performance of yajna is to get more wealth, is to get more benefits, is to get more happiness. Sometimes people may feel, if I am not getting happiness here, let me perform some yajna by which I will get happiness in the heavenly planets. So the concept is, it's later, it is more, and it is of a better quality. For that, many people are ready to perform austerity. Some austerity now, because as they say, sabar ka phal mitha hota hai, hona chahiye. Usually, if you wait for some more time. So people with that hope perform some austerity, thinking that we will get better happiness, We'll get more happiness, better quality, and maybe it is a little bit delayed because of that. But those who do not have training of the control of the senses are usually tormented by the same uncontrolled senses later on. Those who do not have training of the control of the senses will end up eventually being tormented by the very same uncontrolled senses, because the senses are compared to snakes. They'll bite at any time. Srimad Bhagavatam describes just like a hunter who gets a prey, or say a tiger or something. If it's kept in a cage, he still has to be very conscious, just in case the tiger is making some attempt to escape. That's how dangerous the senses can be. That's how dangerous the mind can be. So, if one does not have training of the control of senses, one gets disturbed or tormented by the very same uncontrolled senses. And that is why it is described that those who try to perform austerities, the foolish feel, what is the need for austerity? Why should I not gratify the senses immediately? Something which is available right in front of us, why should I wait for it, in order to something maybe getting better or something? So those who are foolish, they gratify the senses immediately, but they feel those who are performing austerity now, they look at them and feel they are so foolish. They pity at them, thinking that while they are in the youthful stage, still they are not gratifying their senses. But of course, those who are performing austerity with knowledge understand the value of it and understand the later benefit of it. Of course, there are material benefits, and what to speak of spiritual benefits for some who understands the nature of austerity and with the proper purpose for which he performs austerity. That's why the scriptures explain, Aradito yadi hari tapasatapakim, na aradito yadi hari tapasatapakim. If you are worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, what is the need for any other austerity? Because that is included in our package. Our morning program, our reading of the scriptures, chanting of the holy names, associating with devotees. It's a package. The austerity is already included in that. Aradito yadi hari tapasatapakim. There is no external austerity that we have to perform. Already we have quite a lot of Ekadashis. Already we have all the festival days that we have. Those days, if we fast, that is sufficient enough for our purification. And na aradito yadi hari tapasatapakim. If one is not worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, what is the use of those austerities? Because that austerity is not going to liberate the person. That austerity is not going to give him relief from the cycle of birth and death. Because the austerity, tapo divyam, even Bhagavad Gita also Krishna explains, yat karoshi, yad ashnashi, yad juhoshi, tadasiyat, yat tapasyasi kaunteya, tat kurushva mad arpanam. Offer it for me. It is not for personal benefit. It's an offering for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when one does that, there is simultaneous purification of the self and pleasure for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because it is recommended in the scriptures. And we see in the case of Hiranyakashipu, just like we talk about the foolish or the conditioned or those who are karmis or karmakandis, whereas the yogis, or here we find Hiranyakashipu himself performing so much austerity to the extent of having the plan of becoming immortal, that his own body gets emaciated, that Lord Brahma has to come and sprinkle water from his kamandalu. After all that austerities, standing on one leg, raising both of his hands. For us, if we raise hands in kirtan also, it's paining. If the kirtan is long. He's raising his hands and with standing on one leg, performing tapasya for thousands of years. After all that, whatever he achieved was snatched by Lord Narasimhadev and awarded to Prahlad Maharaj, who did not perform any of these ghor austerities, the harmful for others and in extreme tormenting the body. Prahlad Maharaj did not do all that. What Prahlad Maharaj did? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. What Prahlad Maharaj did? Smaranam. Just remembrance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he was awarded, in the age of 5, he was awarded the entire accomplishments of Hiranyakashipu after performing so much of austerity. That is why a bhakta does not have to perform extra austerities. Our austerities are already part of the package which Srila Prabhupada has wonderfully given us. Our Gaurang Prabhu once was sharing this beautiful understanding. Our ABCD, association, books, chanting and diet. So the diet purifies our body. The chanting purifies the mind. The books purify intelligence, and association purifies ego. So we have everything package, full package, and living in the association of Vaishnavas, we have to hope and we have to pray that we are able to continue to live in the association of Vaishnavas with whatever little bit difficulties are there, like those porcupines, whose hairs or spines, which may be hurting each other, but at the end of the day they still need each other because they need that warmth, and that's a great benediction for the Vaishnavas. For the Vaishnavas, there is no extra austerity, which is basically part of the process which is given. And of course, Nectar of Devotion, if you see, Rupa Goswami gives 64 principles. If somebody wants more technical and details and all that, but at least the 5 out of those, worshiping the spiritual master and visiting the dham, chanting the holy names, attending Srimad Bhagavatam classes, all this in itself, which is part of covered in the morning program, is a great benevolence for the devotees, which is awarded by the spiritual master and Lord Shri Krishna himself. And Lord Shri Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita about the different austerities. Krishna explains about the austerities of the body, austerities of the speech, and austerities of the mind. Regarding austerities of the body, Krishna explains Deva, Dvija, Guru, Pragya. That worship 4 classes of people. Worship whom? Deva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Dvija, the Brahmanas. Guru, the spiritual master. And Pragya, those who are superiors, elderly personalities. Worship them and practice 4 principles. One is cleanliness, which is austerity for the body. Cleanliness, simplicity, celibacy, and non-violence. This is considered to be austerity for the body. Austerity for the speech, more difficult, because body is gross, speech much more subtler, can be in a more subtler aspect, difficult, more challenging as compared to austerity of the body. And Krishna explains Anudvegakaram Vakyam Satyam Priyahitam Cha Swadhyaya Abhyasanam. That use the tongue to recite the Vedic literatures, to talk about Krishna, to talk about the glories of the Lord and his devotees. Anudvegakaram Vakyam. Use words which are not agitating to others. Not easy, but that's why it is mentioned as austerity of speech. And of course, Satyam Priyam Hitam, pleasing, beneficial, whether it is beneficial for others. That's why His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrita Swami Maharaj used to say that, before speaking, we can ask ourselves, is it kind? Is it necessary? Is it beneficial for others? Again, trying to remind, I also personally need reminders, trying to explain the reminders. And there is austerities of the mind. This gets even a little more subtler, and that is satisfaction, which basically means this is something that we need to cultivate. Not that we are expecting that one fine day suddenly I'll get satisfied. We have to cultivate the process of satisfaction. How to be satisfied with whatever I have, whether I have or not. Or if I have more also, how to be satisfied with more, how to be satisfied with less. Because whatever Krishna has given, I have to learn how to be satisfied within that process. And of course, there is simplicity, then there is gravity, self-control, and purification of one's existence. These are considered to be austerities of the mind. In today's time, if Krishna comes, he would add one more austerity, austerity of the mobile. And what is that? Screen time, WhatsApp time, talk time. How much are we limiting our screen time, our WhatsApp time, and talk time? Of course, as long as it is engaged in service. Prabhupada said, we are not Moni Babas, trying to be just silent. For us, we are ready to speak 24 hours as long as it is Krishna Katha. As long as it is beneficial to others. If it is Gramya Katha, that is to be restricted. But Krishna Katha has to be propagated and, has to be encouraged more. So, as austerity of the mobile, for most of the devotees, of course, if we can practice these principles, that before starting WhatsApp, if I can read Srila Prabhupada's books, we are more loyal to WhatsApp than to Srila Prabhupada sometimes. WhatsApp is just one of the things which many of us may have, but those who are more into social media, then there is a whole world of other things, Facebook and Instagram and many other things. But before, even if somebody has to do all that, let us at least have some basic norms and some basic requirement that we fulfill. Just like we need our rice, dal, sabji and chapati, our basic nourishment. If we focus on that in terms of how we can be nourished spiritually, that is something which will be described as austerity for the body, for the mind. Because whether it's chanting of the holy names, associating with the devotees, all that will be covered as austerity in the spiritual life. And towards the end, Srila Prabhupada gives this beautiful statement in the purport that thus self-interested persons by demoniac austerity want to kill even their benedictors, whereas the Vaishnavas want to remain an ever-existing servant of the Lord and never to occupy the post of the Lord. A Vaishnava's desire is always to remain a ever-existing servant. Even if Krishna says, I can make you God, even if, a Vaishnava still wants to be a servant of the Lord, because that is the eternal constitutional position. And a servant is, of course, we may have to train ourselves how to be happy while doing our service, while rendering our service. That's why we'll discuss about what it means to be a servant of the Lord. But the aspiration is to ever remain ever existing servant of the Lord, never a desire to occupy the post of the Lord. Like the scriptures describe how Mother Lakshmi, one who resides in the chest of the Lord, is actually coming out and rendering service at the lotus feet of the Lord. One who has the position to be at the chest of the Lord, why she aspires to be at the lotus feet of the Lord? Because service is wealth. One who possesses more service is wealth, different types of wealth. There is monetary, that's why you find even Mahal Ashtalakshmi, right? Money is only one aspect of wealth. Like that, Mother Lakshmi herself comes and massages the lotus feet of the Lord. And what to speak of various examples that we have of Lakshman, of Hanuman, the very Hiranyakashipu, who is part of Jay and Vijay, who is Jay and Vijay come as Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. When they were given an option, you can choose to be 7 lifetimes of devotion as devotees or 3 lifetimes as demons. They chose 3 lifetimes as demons so that they can resume their service after 3 lifetimes. So that they can resume their service after 3 lifetimes. What happens in these 3 lifetimes is also, in one sense, giving pleasure to the Lord, because it was will of the Lord. The Lord wanted to experience the Viryaras. But while doing that, but the focus of the servant of the Vaishnava is how quickly I can resume my service. And that's what Jay and Vijay also did. When like the shloka is describing about Hiranyakashipu, what he is trying to perform, the plans to become immortal. The demoniac king Hiranyakashipu wanted to be unconquerable, free from old age and dwindling on the body. He wanted to gain all the yogic perfections like Anima and Laghima, and to be deathless, and to be the only king of the entire universe. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered all this to Sridhar Kulavich and said, I can give you anything you want. And Sridhar Kulavich was somebody who was in rags, who had more holes in his clothes than the clothes. And Sridhar Kulavich says, I am satisfied. That's the stature of a devotee. When Lord Chaitanya says, I can offer you Anima, Laghima and all the Siddhis, Ashta Siddhis I can offer you. And Sridhar Kulavich says, just as there is a king and there is bird in the nest, both of them get whatever they want, whatever clothes is there, they are awarded what they have. And anybody wants to get more than that, just like 8th canto also explains about somebody wanting to have more than one's quota, only gets more trouble than the quota which they are desiring. So Sridhar Kulavich says, I just don't need this. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu becomes more agitated because he wants to give something. And Sridhar Kulavich says, why are you so disturbed, my Lord? I don't need anything. But if it so pleases you, then I need only one thing, that the way you would come and steal the banana leaves, just those memories, I just need that I cherish those memories, and you come again and again and steal the banana leaves and the interaction that I used to have with you. So a devotee wants to eternally remain a servant of the Lord. Bhavantameva anucharan nirantara prashanta nishesha manorathantara kadahamaikāntika nityakinkara praharshayishyami sanada jivitam. This is Yamunacharya's beautiful verse, prayers. Kadahamaikāntika nityakinkara. When will I be eternally engaged in the service of the Lord? And then only will I be praharshayishyami. I'll be completely satisfied. Why? Because I'll be in the position of sanata jivitam. I will be officially under the shelter, under your divine shelter. Those who are not in the shelter are anath, orphans. But those who are in the shelter are sanat. And for a devotee who has the opportunity for service, should feel so grateful. That's why, just ending with what it means to be a servant of the Lord. So servant of the Lord, the basic duty of a servant is to please his master. That is the goal. The service is to please the spiritual master, the superiors, the supreme personality of Godhead. Whatever it takes for us to please the Lord, to please the spiritual masters, that is what we need to do. In a Kanishta phase, one thinks, I am the only servant. In a Kanishta phase, one feels, I am the only servant. And that also causes problem, because then one feels, mujhse badkar kaun. If one feels I am the only servant, then I am the biggest servant. I am the topmost servant. But when one becomes more evolved and more mature, then I understand I am not the only servant. There are so many more countless servants. Chintamani prakara sadmasu. Like Krishna has unlimited cows, Surabhi cows in the spiritual world. Similarly, there are unlimited Lakshmis who are serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Why should we focus, let us learn to recognize there are so many other servants. Being a servant of the Lord means we have to recognize how to deal with other servants of the Lord as well. While I am rendering my service, let me not end up disturbing others' service. By disturbing others' service, we can't say I am rendering service. And if it ends up disturbing others' service, that means as a part of service, we also have to learn, while rendering my service, how to be as less disturbing to others. If not, being benevolent and benefiting others. So that's one part of it. Another is that understanding there are so many other servants, recognizing their contribution. For example, if a person, a master needs 4 different services, and if we are one of the servants, so consider there are 4 servants and we are one of the servants. At a time, the person A is able to render 1 service. So when B, C and D are rendering service to the same master, should A feel happy? Because he is serving the same master. The others are serving the same master. In fact, A should feel, I can't do all 4 simultaneously. If I am at one point of time at a particular zone, at a particular area at a particular service, there is simultaneously somebody distributing books, simultaneously somebody is taking care of visitors, somebody is taking care of the reception, simultaneously somebody is cooking in the kitchen, simultaneously somebody is arranging for kirtans. Anyway, I cannot do all at a time or even at different times. Ekaki amara nahi paya bala, Harinama Sankirtane. What can we do? Basically, we need, if we recognize that we need other Vaishnavas, and if we learn to deal with them, when we learn to appreciate the contributions of other Vaishnavas, then Krishna may even look at our insignificant contribution. And when a devotee becomes more evolved, then he feels, I am not the only servant. In fact, I am a very insignificant servant. When we are young, it may be natural to feel so. But when one actually evolves, then that sign of the depth or the depth or the maturity of the consciousness is, I am an insignificant servant. This is what Hanuman said when he went to Lanka. After crossing the ocean, after giving a glimpse to Ravana, his prowess, destroying the Ashoka Vatika and all that. After that, when Ravana asks him, who are you? He says, I am an insignificant servant in the army of Lord Ram. And there are countless other servants, many more ready to come. So this was Hanuman's consciousness. So this way, we can try to understand what it means to serve while we are rendering our service. Also trying to recognize other service, there are other servants, and if we befriend other servants, then it is beneficial for us from the perspective of the Lord also, because the Lord was pleased even when 10 prachetas came together, just 10 of them. Lord was not pleased for their 10,000 years of austerity. Lord was more pleased by the cooperation of those 10 of them being together. So if that is what it takes to please the Lord, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, sorry, I'll just end with this last. Chaitanya Charitamrita explain in the Ante Leela, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains that what it means to serve the Lord, what is the satisfaction of the Lord without any personal motives. And he gives the example of that the chaste wife of the leper Brahmana. This leper Brahmana, one is he is poor, and second is he is having a diseased body. And this chaste wife, she was serving him for his basic needs. She used to carry him in the basket as well. And this leper Brahmana had a desire to associate with a prostitute. And this chaste lady, when she inquires, why are you so despondent? What is the problem? Eventually, the leper Brahmana feels hesitant initially and eventually reveals that I want to associate with this prostitute. So this chaste wife even arranges for that. There's a lot of details. She personally goes and serves the prostitute and requests her to give her a source, whatever, all that. So that is, this Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami quotes this to show how service is to be done, whatever it takes to render the service. That means if it takes for us to learn from other Vaishnavas to improve my service better, let us do that, because the goal is to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And actually Krishna manifests through every one of us, through each soul. So Krishna manifests different sparks, different potencies through different personalities. And when we recognize that, when we are able to look around and able to appreciate that, that is something which Krishna will be very pleased with. Hare Krishna. So thank you very much. We just discussed about Hiranyakashipu's attempts to become immortal. So as part of that, we discussed how he is personification of pride. We discussed about demoniac austerities and which leads to material benefits. We discussed about the purpose, levels and goals of austerity. And we discussed about how a Vaishnava wants to remain eternally a servant of the Lord. And towards the end, we discussed what it means to be a servant of the Lord. Thank you very much. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna. Time can take or any comments or Yeah, if time permits, I can take. Anybody has any comments or any questions, I can take. Radhikashtaka. So whatever you decide.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Prabhu. In the interest of time, I would not fully appreciate your presentation. Let us come to direct question. Question is the porcupine example even I have given in device, but as we spend more time in Krishna consciousness, it appears to be more deeper example that, when we are staying together, we have the spikes and others also have, and we recognize our spikes and other spikes, etc. So the point is how we can actually respect, because one devotee, I can say, very wonderful devotee, I have a great appreciation for him. But how do I respond? I don't understand. He is saying, I challenge you to agitate me. So I can't understand that how I can respond in a Vaishnava way. And I am not able to reciprocate with it. So can you please help? Because you have context of all.
So when we are not able to deal with a situation, just like it is described about somebody insults, there is a procedure for it. One is, if somebody criticizes the Lord or his devotees, the best way is one should be able to be equipped enough with the scriptural understanding, by which you can refute the person, defend our parampara. If you are not able to do that, then of course there is a punishment in terms of cutting one's own tongue, which might be difficult. If one is not able to do that, then it is described that one best is leaves the place. When either learn how to deal or seek help and direct the person, something which I can't handle, direct to a person who can handle, or leave the place. Because, as I said, like gravity is a part of austerity of the mind. His Holiness Bhakti Vinod Maharaj made a beautiful statement. Choose your battles. We don't have to fight every battle. We have to choose which one we want and which one is in car parking and which one is I don't want to touch at all. Because we are not the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We have a limitation, and even as a community there may be some limitations of physical limitation, whatever things are there. So either deal with it, borrow help, or leave the place. Hare Krishna. Thank you all very much. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय.
कुमात कांचनाब्ज गर्वहारि गौरभा कीर्तनाशिताब्ज गंध कीर्तिमुंदि सौरभा कुंकुमात कांचनाब्ज गर्वहारि गौरभा